Welcome to J.K. Michael's Knowledge Series. This is the Career Improvement Series, and our focus for this section will be on developing effective communication skills. This video will cover the concept of leadership communication and show you how to go about it. So let us jump right in, and like we will say in colloquial communication, breakfast is served. Now, what is leadership communication? Leadership communication is a type of communication most commonly used by leaders to relay information about the company's culture, core values, mission, and crucial messages that enable the building of trust and encourage employees. Leadership communication goes more than the mere communication of accurate and timely data or fact or information to enable people do their jobs. It goes way further. It aims to communicate purpose, vision, and inspire the buy-in of stakeholders into the vision of the organization. It establishes the organization's values and emphasizes the challenges that the organization must live up to in order to fulfill its promise to its stakeholders. The goal of leadership communication is to inspire and uplift, to foster teamwork and ensure that there is an atmosphere of collaboration that enables the achievement of the objectives of the organization, also encouraging honest feedback. Leadership communication is especially important when the organization needs to undergo some kind of change, big or small, and it can act as a stabilizing force for the organization as it navigates its way through uncertainty. Why is leadership communication important? Communication is one of the most important skills required for a leader. Unfortunately, according to a study conducted by Harvard Business Review, over 69% of managers claim that they are not comfortable communicating with their managers. If leadership would be effective, then communication is imperative. Now, imagine having a vision stuck up in your brilliant mind and not having the requisite skill to communicate and cascade it down to the people that are responsible for performing the work for the realization of that vision. That will be a disaster. To avoid this disaster, we will begin by identifying what good leadership communication is and proceed to present at least 12 best practices for enabling effective leadership communication. So let us ask ourselves the question: what differentiates good leadership communication from mediocre leadership communication? Good communication always improves engagement and involves all stakeholders. Good leadership communication aligns the stakeholders with the strategic direction and the objectives of the organization. Good leadership communication builds trust and encourages transparency. And good leadership communication enables a culture of collaboration, openness, and accessibility. Good leadership communication educates and empowers followers into becoming effective leaders. Now, leadership is a skill, or leadership communication can be learned. Although we have people who are natural leaders and are innately gifted with the ability to communicate the deep values of the organization and foster bonds and connection between stakeholders, we also have people who have become great leaders even though they had to learn how to communicate as a leader. So yes, leadership communication is a skill that can be learned. There are 12 suggested guidelines and suggestions that we'll present for the most successful form of leadership communication. Number 1, be honest. Especially in business context, it becomes twice as much important. If an employee or a stakeholder realizes that they have been lied to, particularly about significant matters such as the financial statements of the company or major changes that are imminent within the company, then that employee or stakeholder is likely to look for a job elsewhere, likely to invest in some other company or anything or do anything to get away from a person or a system that they do not trust. It is important to gain someone's trust. However, it requires more than mere words. Only can be accomplished by actions that are fully congruent with the statements you make. Number 2, always keep your words and fulfill your commitments. Be sure that you have a spotless track record of doing whatever you say you will do, and you have no history of broken promises. Nothing is more damaging to trust than not following up agreements that you have made. And as mentioned above, trust is an essential requisite for effective communication. If you have indicated that you would address a problem during a session dedicated to receiving input, then you need to make sure that you really do that. If you will earn a reputation as a credible and trustworthy leader that all employees and stakeholders will be willing to go above and beyond for, then you must demonstrate that you are willing to do the same for them. Number 3, communicate intelligently and with a strategy. Because our schedules are so full, there is nothing more aggravating and irritating than having to take out time of our day for something that turns out to be unnecessary or pointless. Or much worse, the topic at hand may be significant, but the information has been conveyed in a way that is either misconstrued or not comprehended at all. To prevent this from happening, you must ensure that you go into every discussion with a strategy in mind. For instance, if you are disclosing a new project, then what you need to explain, then you would need to explain what the project is, what is the scope, what is the goal, how long it will take, the resources that will be required, and other pertinent information. Then if you had hard to do it again, then you will do it again. If you wanted to be sure that you did not leave out anything that is vital from your list, feel free to use a bulleted list. That may be of great assistance to you. Number 4, get your feet firmly planted in the ground. You will not only need people to listen to what you have to say, but you also need to listen to what others have to say to be a great communicator. Maintain a visible presence among your workforce and other stakeholders. Cultivate close relationship with people. Inquire or ask about their perspectives and viewpoints. Pay attention to what they have to say. Also pay attention to what they are not saying. People will trust you a lot more when you are able to develop a personal relationship with you. They will of course be more willing to tell you the truth if there are problems within their teams or in the department if you interact with them on a personal basis. One-on-one interactions will aid you in a variety of ways. If you take the time to cultivate excellent communication at all levels of business, you will be rewarded with improved communication. Number 5, demonstrate empathy. This piece of advice corresponds to the previous. When developing connections with employees and other stakeholders, you want to make an effort to always come from a place of empathy. A leader who always responds aggressively to challenging circumstances is not one that should expect the trust of their staff, nor should they expect them to tell them realities that are tough but vital to hear. You will be able to develop deep connections with your colleagues if you behave with empathy, which will include imagining what it would be like to be in the position of the person, as well as listening carefully and making an effort to comprehend the circumstances. Number 6, reduce the complicated information into something that is straightforward and easy to remember. Excellent communication leaves lasting impression. Because of these, slogans and taglines have become very popular because it's far easier and simpler to remember a short phrase that is meaningful and impactful than a lengthy and difficult piece. Great communicators are aware of this and are good at simplifying difficult concepts by breaking them down into words that are crystal clear and easy to comprehend. Number 7, be receptive to transparency and candid criticism. Being shown to be incorrect is a necessary component of one's educational and developmental journey, despite the fact that it can be quite unsettling. These are the kinds of talks that leaders should never be afraid to have. Leaders will benefit from knowing diverse ideas and gaining a reputation for being open-minded and fair individuals if they engage in conversations with people who have viewpoints that are different from them. Leaders earn employees' trust when they demonstrate an openness to receiving truthful feedback. In both circumstances, they demonstrate that they place a priority on the viewpoints of others, which contributes to the development of their reputation as effective communicators. Number 8, acquire the ability to communicate with people in front of groups. This is not a talent that can be picked up quickly, but the result of hard work, and that would be very well worth it. A genuinely skilled communicator will be able to address a sizable crowd while simultaneously giving each individual in the audience the impression that the speaker is addressing them on a personal level. The most important thing to do is to have a solid grasp of the audience that you are addressing so that you can tailor your message and your delivery to fit their needs. If it is a very highly technical group of engineers, you should be utilizing phrases that are distinct from those used for your customer support staff. If you have spent time getting to know the members of your audience in a one-on-one setting, then you will have some concept of how to deliver a speech that is customized for them and gives them the impression that you spoke to them individually. Number 9, maintain coherence in both your verbal and non-verbal communication. People thrive in environments that are consistent, and they usually seek for consistency from those in positions of leadership. Take some time to think things through and ensure that the facts or the ideas that you're going to provide have been well considered and researched before you actually say anything. People will be able to believe what you say today because they know it will be consistent with what you say next week. This will assure them that you will not be flip-flopping from one idea to the other from one day to another. Number 10, maintain open lines of communication with all of your staff members. This is imperative that you maintain open lines of communication with personnel working at all levels and in all divisions of your firm. There should not be a discerning distinction between the part-time workers and executives in terms of who you speak to and who you listen to in the workplace. Take note of the people with whom you share the majority of your waking hours. It is of the utmost importance to check that you are not giving preferential treatment to any certain individual, department, or degree of employee or stakeholders. These things are unquestionably noticed by people. Number 11, bring people together in support of a unified purpose. Finding people that have something in common is an efficient way to bring them together. This might be something as straightforward as a quarterly objective, but then again, it could also be the mission of the firm, or the ethos that drives the organization, or the long-term goal that the organization has set for itself. The workforce will be more cohesive and productive if they are working for a common objective that they all are aware of and understand. Number 12, exude confidence. Always maintain an air of self-assurance. And this is another skill that requires effort and time to perfect, but it has the utmost significance. You should be able to show that you're confident through your words and behaviors. There will be moments when you do not have an answer to everything, or when something unpleasant might have happened, but despite all of these circumstances, you should be able to respond with confidence at all times. If you always behave with confidence, you will establish trust with your staff. As we all know, there is nothing worse than a leader who is not confident in the words that they are speaking, and generally we will do everything to avoid being that kind of leader. To summarize, leadership communication is an art that requires more refined and sophisticated communication skills than the regular forms of business communication. This is because of the unique role and importance of leadership vis-a-vis what leadership seeks to achieve. The goals of leadership communication tends to be more abstract and emotive and go beyond the communication of data, figure, and information. Good leadership communication should align people to culture, should foster collaboration, should align employees to the organization's strategic direction, and encourage engagement and all-round involvement, as well as ensuring that trust and transparency is built in the process. We also presented 12 suggestions and guidelines for the most effective leadership communication. Number 1, be honest. Number 2, always keep your word and fulfill your commitments. Number 3, communicate intelligently and with a strategy. Number 4, get your feet firmly planted on the ground. Number 5, demonstrate some degree of empathy. Number 6, reduce the complicated information into something that is straightforward and easy to remember. Number 7, be receptive to transparent and candid criticism. Number 8, always maintain the ability to communicate in front of groups of people. Number 9, be coherent in both your verbal and non-verbal interaction. Number 10, maintain open lines of communication with all members of your staff. Number 11, bring people together in support of a unified purpose. And number 12, exude confidence. Now it's time for my question. Which of these 12 suggestions and guidelines would make the biggest impact on your ability to communicate effectively as a leader? Do write down your responses for me in the comment section, and I will read through them and ensure that I respond to them, offering valuable feedback as I do. For more information on leadership communication, please check on our website www.jkmichaelpm.com. Thank you for listening. See you in the next video.